very, very warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. It's a fabulous day, so I think you'll get extra brownie points for coming along and being in this meeting. I won't keep you for ages. Whilst this is a really intense topic, what I have to say is that we can actually push through it quite quickly. And what I've actually done as a sort of belt and braces jobby is that I have created an actual worksheet for you. So I just want to explain to you how you can access that. You don't need it right now. You don't need to print it out right now. But if you just mouse over your screen or roll over your screen, you'll see some little icons come up at the bottom of the page. If you can click on the chat box, okay, what will happen is that you'll see chat come up. Now for me, it's on my right-hand side of my screen, and you should there see the file that I've put for you. It says setting your fees for Zoom session. It cuts off. It's a PDF there. As I say, you don't need to print it out now, but I wanted to talk you through this document. That's what we're going to be doing today. And it will then give you a framework to go away and work with. So that's the intention for today. As you know, very often with these tutorials, I've been doing PowerPoint presentations, and of course last week we had a Q&A, so I like to kind of shake things up a bit. Now, the other request I have for everybody is please just to make sure that you're all muted. The way you do that, again, is roll over your little picture, and then at the bottom of the screen you'll see a little microphone with a little kind of green bobbly bit jumping up and down. If you can click on that and mute it, that would be tremendously helpful because that just helps Zoom to work a bit better with the bandwidth. I've also got Roberta Macmillan, also known as Wonder Woman. CMA members who are here will know Roberta because she is the goddess of all things membership related, and she's the CMA Vice President of Membership. So she's actually here very kindly on her day off to moderate this session and admit more people into the room, which I see Roberta is doing because we've got some latecomers coming in. So just anybody who's just joined, go into the chat section and you'll be able to download this. It's a worksheet that we're going to work through. You don't need to do it. I don't want you to split your attention by sort of reading and listening, because as we know in teaching and education research, if you split the mind, the person goes away with no knowledge. They haven't retained any information. For example, if you're a teacher and you're upstanding in front of people and you're giving a lecture, the research shows that people actually only walk away because of that teaching format with 30% of the very beautiful information that you've shared with them. So just be aware of that. So that's why it's important to flip up and change your teaching style, which is, again, it's really important if you are if you're doing lectures as well, as I know so many of us actually do. So let's start by talking about fee setting. It's a very, very important thing. And I just also wanted to, just one second, let me see if I can do this. Right, okay, I'm going to launch a poll here. These are totally anonymous, okay? So if you want to, can you all see, give me a thumbs up if you can see a poll on your screen. Oh, excellent, that worked. I've not done that before. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts are. If you can just click on those answers, we'll see that coming up in the group. And oh, this is really cool, actually, very interesting. Okay, lovely. So we've got, super, thank you very much. Okay, let's just let that roll for a sec while everybody gets a chance to vote. Great stuff. Gosh, the wonders of modern technology. We've still got a few more people left to vote. As I say, completely anonymized. We don't know who you are. It's just for us to gather data. So far, we've got 71% of people voting. The first question was, how satisfied are you with your current fee structure? 20% of people are unsatisfied and believe they're not charging enough. 80% of people feel that their fees are okay, possibly could do better, which is totally understandable. The other thing that comes up frequently in these discussions about fees and whatnot is whether people offer discounts, and sometimes 13% of people currently do. 63% of people sometimes do, and at the moment 25% of people don't. And we've got some answers in the chat box at the side. You haven't started practicing yet, so I haven't filled it in. That's absolutely fine. No worries at all. We're all in different sort of situations. You know, we've got experienced practitioners here, we've got students here, we've got people who are running training courses, and all sorts. These tutorials are open to absolutely everybody, and we embrace everybody. And this is the whole reason I'm doing this, is so that I can provide some support to you all during COVID. We've also got a lovely new cohort of people, so welcome to all the homeopaths there, that I sort of accidentally found you. I have been in your group on Facebook for some time, lurking and making the odd comment and so on, but I sort of, in fact, actually, another lady who's in the group, Fiona, said, Janie, can you share what you're doing, you know, to support practitioners in this group? So I asked permission, and I did, and lots of you found me that way as well, so a big welcome to you as well. So I'm going to end the poll because I think it's pretty clear that most people think their fees are fairly much okay. We could be doing better, and you know, that's really important, salient information. So let me just share the results with everybody, and let's get rid of that. So you can all see that, I take it. Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Great, we'll be using more of these polls in the future. Let me just get rid of that out of the way. Right, fantastic. So let me just pin the video there. Great stuff. Okay, so as I say, don't print this out yet. It's for you to print out afterwards. I don't want you to split your attention. So slightly different from normal. I'm going to be going through this with you so you know what to do, what it contains, and how to use it afterwards. Okay, so this lecture covers the importance of understanding your worth, particularly at the current time during COVID, and realizing that your product or service is separate from you and has very specific value. And the hint is that it's probably greater than you think. Once you fully understand the value of the solution that you provide, market forces, and how to charge, you'll have a viable and realistic blueprint for creating a rational price structure that will sustain your dream business so that you can help more people doing the work that you love. Now, one of the things I want to say to you is those of you that have been on my courses and seminars in the past know very well that I'm a huge proponent of charging more, earning more, and actually feeling good about doing so. I've got to explain very clearly to you that my position is not inspired by greed or avarice or other sort of money-grabbing impetus at all. On the contrary, I firmly believe that we offer the most amazing services within the field of complementary medicine. Complementary medicine across all of the disciplines has huge value. For those of you who are joining from overseas, we use the term complementary medicine here in the UK, but you know, it's interchangeable a lot with integrative medicine. So if that makes more sense to you, think of it in those terms. I personally believe that the healing that we practitioners do has the most incredible potential for changing lives. And I also believe in the ripple effect. And I'm sure that all of you see this in your practice as well. Or if you're not yet practicing, you will see it. It's the most amazing phenomenon. You'll have somebody come to you and you will enable this phenomenal transformation in them. Engender, whatever it is, in whatever way that you work. And of course, when that person receives that change and actually it sort of engenders that change in their lives, that ripple effect reaches out and has this knock-on effect to their immediate family, their friends, and society as a greater whole. So, you know, a lot of the times practitioners, I think that we tend to think that we are just working with one person and that's it, and they go away and hopefully they get better and so on. But actually our impact is massive. The role for complementary medicine in society is not to be underestimated in any way, shape or form. Please go away with that firmly in your hearts and heads. Oh, Roberta, we've got some more coming. Oh, that's it. Thank you very much for picking up everybody coming in. So I really do believe that it's our duty and our responsibility to run successful, thriving practices. And, I really feel that we are offering something very special. Now, Marianne Williamson talks about this really very well. She says, "Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine." Now, this is really very relevant because obviously within the field of complementary medicine, as soon as we put our heads above the parapets, we are vulnerable. We are likely to be shot down by, the very well-oiled machine of those representatives of big pharma. I mean, goodness knows, I'm public enemy number one when it comes to big pharma and taking pot shots and the absolutely vile things and threats that I get on a constant basis. You just wouldn't believe the stuff that comes through. Unfortunately, poor Roberta sometimes gets emails come through to her from my private site, my personal site, and the stuff that poor Roberta has to see is absolutely shocking. The point is that we wouldn't get this stuff, would we, if we were not making waves, if we were not a force to be reckoned with out there in the healthcare sector. And if we were not a threat to big pharma, we wouldn't be getting this stuff. So we have to view it as a badge of honor. Now, as many of you know, over the last 27 years, I've worked as president of the Complementary Medical Association, the CMA, and I've coached and mentored tens of thousands of CMA registered practitioners right across the board of all disciplines. So I've seen virtually every practice model that there is, and so I know what works and what doesn't. And furthermore, for those of you who don't know me and are just joining this group new, I had the immense privilege of doing my MSc at the University of Central Lancashire, and Dr. Jean Duckworth, Dr. Hazel Partington, and the amazing group of teachers and lecturers there. It was in homeopathy, and my dissertation, my final dissertation, was called Practicing to Thrive, Thriving in Practice. And I had to actually do research that looked at practice models and why some practitioners thrive and are wildly successful in practice, and what the common denominators are that enable them to be so successful. Now, I've got all of these tutorials that we've been doing over the last few weeks, all recorded. They're all up on the CMA YouTube page, so YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and you want to catch up, they're all there for you. And you just go to YouTube and you type in Complementary Medical Association, and up they will all pop. So that's a way for you to catch up. They have been very, very well received, and I think that a lot of the information that's coming out is very relevant. But one of the refrains that people keep coming up with is that I need to charge what I'm worth. And that's sorry, can everybody just mute themselves because we're getting interference. So there we go. Sorry, we've just got to, sorry, it's just, the bandwidth today is awful. I hope you're actually, sorry to just digress there. The bandwidth today is absolutely appalling. So there we go. That's it. We're back again. Good. It just froze for a moment, and I want you to get every bit of this juicy information that we have. So there are two serious problems with the idea of charging what I'm worth. First of all, the first issue, number one, is that you are absolutely priceless. Your work, however, is priceable. What you are worth is not even remotely quantifiable bit quantifiable, because you are priceless. Your precious life cannot be measured in terms of price. You are, and your complete and utter uniqueness are beyond price and compare. However, your skills and services are quantifiable. That's not to say that we should commoditize, and I'm going to come on to commoditization in just a moment. But you know, there is a going rate for our services, so we can work that out. Furthermore, you have the flexibility and the ability to raise or lower the going rate depending upon how you position your treatments, skills, products and services. Now, you'll know, or you may not know, but please go and watch those other videos, that we have covered branding, we've covered positioning, we've covered understanding your market, your place in the market, and how to establish value. So please, if you're not sure about that, go back and have a look at those. Also, join my private Facebook group called Janie Goddard Masterclasses, because there are more videos in there and more worksheets in there. So there's huge amounts of resources that we're putting out to support you. But what about your client or patient? Quite honestly, there's no value in your practice, of course, without your client or patient. How much is a dentist worth without patients? Absolutely zilch. How much is a car worth if nobody will buy it? How much is a company worth if the investors all sell their shares? What you offer your clients or patients has no value until somebody is willing to book an appointment. So in order to do that, they must understand what it is that you offer. They must understand your value. And as we said, not last week, but the week before, we've got to be able to put ourselves in their shoes, to understand their fundamental question, which is, what's in it for me? If we can understand that the patient doesn't really want to know whether you're a homeopath or a nutritionist or a psychosynthesis counselor or a reflexologist, those are all just big words. What we've got to do is just reverse engineer the situation and understand that clients realize that they need our services because something has gone awry. Or we may be in a position where we have very enlightened clients who are coming to us because they are fundamentally healthy and they know that they will remain fundamentally healthy if they look after themselves. So those are lovely clients and we love those, and that's great. But the majority will be coming to us because they have identified the fact that they need help in a particular area. So we need to put ourselves in their shoes and realize that our jargon words, words about our practices, actually have no meaning to them. Quite honestly, nobody cares that I'm a homeopath. All they want to know is, how is this woman going to help me sort out my problem? And so it's my duty to figure out how I'm best going to be able to get that message across. So how do we go about understanding how clients perceive value? What influences them to buy? Or in our case as practitioners, how can we help more prospective clients over our threshold and get them to make an appointment? To do this, we need to look very carefully at our profession to gauge the state of the market and to see what's being charged for similar services. Now, at this point, I really need you to remember the lessons that we learnt in my previous lectures on avatar creation and creating your niche. Now, I've got one lecture up in Janie Goddard Masterclasses on creating your niche, but I want to do a live session and bring that really bang up to date, because the one in the Facebook group was created a couple of years ago, and I've really changed a lot, and a lot of that niche creation has developed in the last 2 years. So I'm going to be doing that for you next week, okay? But go back to the avatar lecture. The avatar is your ideal, perfect client, the client that you absolutely would love to work with, your dream client. Remember that if you did the work that I suggested, you'll know that there's a huge emphasis on individualizing your offering. Sure, in most cases, there are plenty of other practitioners around who are offering the same discipline as you. but nobody does it exactly like you. And I really want you to embrace your uniqueness, because you know that is where we can drill down to really find your value. It's vitally important to address these points by understanding the market. First of all, make it your primary task. So this is job number one today, to research the whole market. To do this, you need to look at all ends of the market, from the charity rates right up to the rates being charged by people in Harley Street or five-star spas. Obviously, you know right now that we have to move away from the lowliest of fees. There's no way that you can sustain a practice by doing that. And if you were to do so, you'd be doing yourself and your clients a huge disservice, as if you can't be profitable, you'll go out of business very, very quickly. There's another part to this as well, and it's hugely important. Remember that if you decide that you're going to go in at the very, very lowest of fees by lowballing your fees, you're doing the profession a huge disservice. Because by the nature of our industry, there has to be something of a scalability to fee structure, insofar as more experienced practitioners really ought to charge more and newer practitioners might consider charging less. It's all about, though, coming back to the value of the transformation you offer. By charging minimally as an experienced practitioner, you are not leaving space for newer practitioners to enter the market, and thus they don't stand a chance of making a viable, sustained living. So if you've been in practice for decades and you're out there charging £30 a session, where does that leave the newly qualified practitioner who's just starting to try to build a practice? It really is unfair, and so that's another reason where we've got to actually look at the profession as a whole. When I started the CMA 27 years ago, at the time, complementary medicine was very much a cottage industry. And because of where I was coming from professionally, because of the training I'd been privileged to have in homeopathy at London College of Classical Homeopathy, and because I'd come out of when I was obviously, many of you know that I was a ballet dancer and a dancer in the West End and things like that. And when I was resting, darling, I used to pick up sales and marketing jobs, and I would spend, certainly months at a time working in companies and really taking all of this information up and absorbing it like a sponge. I then spent the next 20 years married to a chap who happened to have been the planning director of the world's largest advertising agency, Ogilvy and Mather. He then went on to literally be head and top honcho at McCann Erickson, again, the world's second largest ad agency. So over the years, I've really absorbed and really come to understand not just complementary medicine, but really have an amazingly acute insight into what really makes our marketing and promotional work tick, and how we can embrace lessons from the big boys. And from the previous lectures, you'll see that I've done that. We actually dissect real live adverts and things. It's quite fun to do that. So what I want you to do is to, as I said, take an inventory, a proper inventory of the market at both ends and everything in between. So we aren't going to want to place ourselves at the bottom end of the market. I really do feel that there is a place for volunteering, and we all know that volunteering is so valuable. So what I tend to do, and the approach I tend to take, is that I do set my fees high, because I do know, and over the years I've understood, that I bring immense value to my clients. The transformation I help them make is life-changing. No two ways about it. That has an intense and integral value. So what that does is it enables me to go away, and it subsidizes me so that I can do volunteering, I can help out and bring value to homeless and really deeply challenged sectors of society. So I'm not saying don't do any of that work. What I'm saying is make sure you look after number one. You know, there's the whole thing going back to the old aircraft model. You know, the oxygen mask drops down. You've got to look after yourself first by putting that oxygen mask on you first before you can help anybody else. It's a cliche, but my goodness, it's true. So we've got to look after you first of all by setting your fees correctly. And so what we've got to do is to determine what actually sets prices. So price goes well beyond materials, your overhead and your labor. It goes well beyond your experience and skills. These are just factors that contribute to understanding a sustainable price from a practitioner's point of view. But many other factors influence price from a customer's point of view. Got to understand, what does your treatment mean to your client? What is the transformation that you are offering? How is your practice and how are you as the practitioner positioned in relation to the rest of the market? Now, I want you to go away and to assess these points as well. So this is job number 2. You'll need to look at everything that you offer to the world by way of promotional information, your website, your brochures, if you have them, your business card, your YouTube videos, your blog entries, your podcasts, if you do them, your testimonials, and how they're written. Because the medium is the message. To set your value, you've got to actually demonstrate that you offer value. By going out and looking half-assed, scrappy, unprofessional, you will never, ever build a credible business that way. All of these elements, all of these materials or marketing assets, as we call them, must be congruent with the expectations of your ideal potential client. Do your marketing materials speak the same language as the client? Do they articulate the quality of your offering? Now, at this point, I just want to, again, emphasize the necessity of making sure that you've either watched the previous videos or that you are going to, because you'll see how all of this hangs together. It's such a, you know, creating a practice, building a practice is completely holistic. And so we need to know our ideal client or our avatar. We need to know where they hang out, how their brains work, what they respond to, what their emotional response is in order to shape our branding. We need to know the niche that we want to appeal to. All of these things all come together. The psychographics of everything is so, so important. So all of these elements give your client a distinct impression of what your offering is worth. So if it's necessary, adjust your marketing if you need to make the price that you want to charge match what your clients want to pay. It may well be that you have to charge or change what you use to promote your services, and this might be hard work and time consuming, but what better time to do it than right now when we're still in the tail end, hopefully, everything crossed, the tail end of lockdown. It might involve getting a shiny new website, new business cards, or more training. Within the Complementary Medical Association, we actually give our members their own page on the CMA website where they can put up what they do, links to their websites, where they can actually put their testimonials in. And because the CMA is the world's leading multidisciplinary professional membership association, we get an enormous amount of traffic. So by having your website and your own literal web page on that site, it shoots up your search engine optimization. So if your website isn't performing that well from an SEO point of view, by putting your website address on the CMA website, it literally pulls it up by the bootstraps and positions you right up there. It's a really neat trick, and it just really skyrockets practices. It's absolutely superb. You know, it may be that you need more training. It may be that you need additional newfangled embracement of platforms that you might not be using, like YouTube, for example. We've just started really embracing YouTube. COVID has given us a complete kick up the bum, because YouTube is such an immediate way of getting your message out. And we're finding that it's working absolutely brilliantly for us. I use YouTube in two different ways. We have the CMA, the Complementary Medical Association YouTube channel, but I also have the Janie Goddard YouTube channel, where I'm putting up all my health information, information centering around my latest book and Rewind Your Body Clock and all of that. And I have to say that my channel is growing really, really fast. If you go to the Complementary Medical Association website, you'll find all of these videos and lots of practice related videos that are really helpful. The trick with YouTube is to subscribe to the channel. There's a little red subscribe button. Click that and a little bell icon will come up. You can click that and it will give you a notification on your computer or on your phone, whatever device you're using, to actually let you know when we post a new video. And please, if you decide to start doing YouTube videos, and I thoroughly recommend it, then also make sure that you explain the same thing that I've just explained whenever you do a video, so that you make sure that you are grabbing the attention of your visitors, people watching your videos, and that you start to build a YouTube community. This is going to stand you in so much good stead. Also, my other tip is really important for you. If you are able to get videos, your own videos, front and center on your own website. Now, we have spoken about website design and what needs to go where, and that was in a previous tutorial, again, on the CMA YouTube channel. If you can put video on your website, your engagement and your uptake of new clients is going to go stratospheric, because what video enables you to do is to be able to speak to people really, really directly. And it enables them to ascertain whether you are the kind of person that they'll be able to work with, whether you're speaking the same language. So that actually brings me up to the final action point. What I want you to do is to take a complete inventory of the factors currently influencing your price, both from your business's perspective and your customer's perspective. Determine which factors can change, or you can change, to create a better result for your business, so that you can really begin to grow your practice. Create an action plan to do exactly that. Now, then in the worksheet, I've got my contact details at the bottom there. Those are live links. You'll just be able to click on those and get through to all of those bits and pieces. Model what I'm doing. All of the people out there who teach business development and such like always say, find somebody that you know is doing a good job and model what they're doing. So I'm just putting this out there to say, please, theft is a good thing. Thievery is excellent. And what I mean by that is, if you like something that I'm doing, then feel free to nick it and use that framework in your work as well. You know, I've been working in this field, as I say, running the CMA for 27 years. So I've seen literally everything. So what I'm saying is, you know, if you see a particular approach to a video that you like, or if you see a particular approach to a worksheet that you like, by all means, and with my blessing, use it as a framework to create your own unique material. Obviously, everything we do is copyrighted, so don't just, you know, take the copy. I want you to be more creative than that. I've had people take copy in the past, and yeah, it's flattering, but you know, you can do better, so don't do that. Remember that the CMA logo is a registered trademark, so you know, if you're a member, you're allowed to use it. If you're not, then don't use it. So what I want to do now is to move on to questions, and also to briefly cover reverse engineering your fees. Now, CMA members have access to an actual fee setting machine. It's online. It's a really, really cleverly designed algorithm that you can actually work out what you need to earn. It then You then plug in things like the number of hours you want to practice, the number of per week, the number of weeks per year that you want to practice, the amount of time you need to spend doing marketing and business development activities, the number of hours you want to spend doing or need to spend doing admin activities, and so on. It also lets you add in your fixed and variable costs, heat rates, light, electricity, all of those things. And so that actually is wonderful. Now that is a very clever device. What I did was I reverse engineered the Harvard Business School's approach, which works out if you charge XYZ per hour, then when you take out this and take out that and so on, this is how much you end up with at the end of the year. Actually, not terribly helpful, because what you need to know is ultimately you've got to look at all of your outgoings, work out what you need to earn on a per annum basis, and then work backwards from there. And that will tell you what you need to charge per hour or per session. As I say, we've got that. It's a membership benefit to CMA members, so you guys will all have that. So are there any questions at the moment? I appreciate what I've done is I've given you an overview of the factors that you really need to go and revisit to ascertain your value. I've also suggested that you do go and look out there and see what other people are charging, but not to be swayed by that. It gives you interesting intel, but that's not to say that you should be charging the same as everybody else. I did say I would talk about commoditization. Commoditization is where you go out and say, I'm a nutritionist and I'm charging £75 per session. That's just a made-up number. Okay, don't quote me on that. That's not to say that. I'm not saying that's what nutritionists charge. Don't run away with that idea. What I'm saying is, Mary goes out. She charges £75 per session because that's what everybody else is doing. That makes what Mary is offering a commodity. She's not differentiating herself. She's not appreciating her true value. She is not offering anything different or making herself accessible to a particular niche audience. So that's what I'm saying. Do not commoditize yourself. You are unique. You are the expert. You have value. Please believe that in your absolute core. That's what I want you to go away from this session with. I really want to instill that. So let's look at questions. Right, okay, Nicola, where can you find the fee setting machine? It's on the CMA website, and I will send you a link afterwards. We're actually changing up the CMA website dramatically. We did a poll recently because the site was brilliant when it went up 8 years ago, just over 8 years ago, and it was really state of the art, but boy have things moved on. So we are creating, we did a poll with CMA members, and so we asked, you answered, we listened, big time, big time. Your answers were amazing. Thank you so much for participating in that. We are creating a new site, but I do have a page up for you, and so I can let you have that. That's not a problem at all. Right, okay, now, I appreciate that I've rabbited on, and so what I want to do now is throw the floor open. If you would like to ask a question, you can do that in the group. By all means, unmute yourself or ask a question in the chat if you're shy and you don't want to speak on camera. Okay, please go ahead. Have I really answered all your questions? Really? Really? You guys? Seriously? Okay. Right, okay, let's talk about, so this might give you some food for thought. A lot of people say, I charge XYZ, I need to put my fees up. How do I go about doing that? Is that a good question? Give me thumbs up if you think that's a good question. Yay, okay, lovely. All right, there's a trick to it. So I knew you guys would want to know about this. So what happens is that you know that you want to put your prices up. You realise that by reverse engineering your prices. What you need to do is to look at what you're charging at the moment. is having established the value of what you do, you need to then look at ways of establishing what your price should be, either using the price setting machine, software machine that we have, or alternatively, as I say, just going when doing your homework, which is absolutely fine. What I want you to do is to understand that you can make the most phenomenal difference to your bottom line. And what I want to do with you, next week I want to do niche. The week after, what I want to do is look at profitability, because profitability is such a fascinating area. So I'm not going to talk about it too much today because it's a whole lecture by itself. But what I want you to do is, when you, just for the time being, when you look at your prices, if you find that you need to put your prices up, just put them up by 10%, 15%, or what have you. So what that means in real terms is it's much less daunting than you might think. A lot of us, I know, will think, oh God, I've got to put my prices up. But how am I going to lose all my patients? And you get this awful sick feeling in the pit of your stomach, don't you? Thinking, oh, this is just going to be a disaster. But actually, what happens when you put prices up is that you develop more credibility. You actually will probably find that you get busier. If you think back to the lecture that I did on branding, where we looked at the difference between Coco Chanel perfume, Chanel No. 5, versus Charlie, that we used to wear in the 70s when I was at school. And, you know, it's the exact same product, right? You know, it's basically water with a bit of alcohol and some essential oils in it, pretty much. I'm sure perfumers would argue the toss, but that's it. The only difference is the marketing and the branding and the look and the feel and the emotion behind the two things. So what I want you to understand is that when your pricing does convey value. If you present something out there at rock bottom price, people assume they are getting a rock bottom quality product or service. So again, you are doing yourself and your clients, your potential patients, you're doing them a solid favor by actually charging a decent rate, because you will get better compliance from your patients. They will stick to what you want them to do far, far better, and they will actually respect what you do far more. Now, so if you were charging, let's take a nominal fee of, say, go back to Mary and her £75 for a session as a nutritionist. Again, I'm not saying that's what you should be charging, it's just a round figure. If she was to put her price up by 10%, she would actually, so she would get have a price increase of £7.50. It's not that drastic. £7.50 is not that difficult for somebody to find. Now, I appreciate that at the time that we're recording this, we are in lockdown. People are suffering. We have had people losing their jobs or being furloughed. They're on less money and so on. So we have to use an intelligent approach. But what I'm saying is this idea of just a mere 10% price increase actually makes a massive difference to your bottom line. But then conversely, from a profitability perspective, as I say, not this coming week, but so in a fortnight's time, we'll have a whole lecture on profitability. But there's another element to profitability, which is if you can reduce your costs of doing business by 10%. It doesn't just give you a 10% uplift and a 10% decrease. What actually happens is that those two actions have a massive cumulative response, which will give you an uplift in profitability of, wait for it, 81%. It is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. The factor that you also have to add into that is changing your marketing so you get an increase in the number of consultations by a mere 10% as well. So if you were seeing 10 people previously per week, just adding one more person will give you that uplift. So it's not difficult, it's not massively challenging, but all of these things will totally transform your practice. So there we go. Any other questions? Have I covered that adequately? Am I blinding you with science? Am I intelligible? Is this easy to understand? Is there anything you want clarification on? Let me know, because I'm here. Pick these brains, what little brains there are, but pick them, please. Go ahead. Really?
Janie?
Yes.
Hi, Faustina. A basic question and probably rather stupid, but I'm just putting together a nutrition counselling kind of website.
Right.
Do I have to put like a PayPal credit card app on it, or can I leave it open to sort of talk to the client about it? And I mean, how do you approach that side of it?
Great question. Thank you, Faustina. That's a really lovely question. And actually, we do get asked it quite a lot. What actually happens is that it's kind of whatever you feel you want to do. Some practitioners find value in putting a pay a deposit button. Now you can go to PayPal and get the code to do that. You can actually put in what you want to charge. It creates a little bit of HTML code for you. You simply copy that and embed that onto your website. Now, if I'm talking gobbledygook, it means that you need to get your webmaster or webmistress to do that for you. If you're fine with doing that, it's actually really, really easy. It's literally cut and paste, but don't feel that you need to do it. It's not necessary. You can get somebody else to help you with it. It's a 1-minute job. A lot of people find that it's really useful to actually say, well, these are my, put your fees on your website, and that you can actually make an appointment here by putting on Calendly link. Does everybody know Calendly? I'll write it for you here. It's a free service. It's blooming brilliant if you don't already use it. What it is it's a calendar online. You can mark out the times that you're available and times you're not available, and people can actually go on there and set appointments. You can actually literally set how long your appointments are, how much space you want between them. Oh my goodness, it is brilliant. So you can actually, so what I would suggest is putting a Calendly app on your site, and a lot of people like, if they're going to do that, to put a PayPal button for people to actually pay a deposit, or if it works for your business, for them to actually pay the fee up front. It works well, and for other people, they choose not to put their fees on their site. Now, I don't put my fees on my site because I'm not actively working on practice development, because I run the Complementary Medical Association. I'm, a journalist and writer and a broadcaster. I do have an online clinic. It's an international clinic, but at the moment I don't want to attract new clients necessarily, because I've literally got my hands full. And if I was to then start putting my work with Janie and my fees and how I work and so on, the floodgates opened. I put one little, just to give you an example of how powerful the internet is, I put one little thing on Instagram. It was an Instagram story that I was just talking about practice and about clients and the philosophy of practice and things like that. And I suddenly got inundated in my direct messages. Oh, I didn't know that you saw patients. Oh, when can I book? And so on. And I because I had done that, I did take them on, and that was fine. So I have to say, if you do put your fees and so on your site, it does open the floodgates. So do be aware of that. Now, the other thing that I always find is, if you put your fees up, if you are the person that is charging the most in your area, you will be the busiest practitioner. I've seen this time and time again. a true story is that I was doing, I used to run these, and I would love to do them again actually, post-lockdown. I used to run these wonderful things, and Roberta used to come along and come down from Scotland and help out with them. They were live workshops, full day, called Developing Your Professional Practice. And at one point we had this amazing guy who's a sound healer, Jim Fox, who looks like Gandalf. He's got this long white beard and he's just gorgeous, and you just have to cuddle him all the time. And Jim was saying that he'd been, following all my bits and pieces. He had put his fees up in an attempt to get busier, and lo and behold, he did get busier. So he talked about it to an acupuncturist friend and told him what he'd done. And the acupuncturist friend put his fees up and got to the point where he just ended up having to bat people off with quite, a proverbial stick, not a literal stick, because it really transforms your practice. It's all about perception of value. I'm not saying trick people by being expensive. What I'm saying is, if you are really, really, really secure in your heart of hearts with the value of the transformation that you provide, then you won't have any problem by charging a decent rate, a professional rate. And here's the other thing. Now, this is my little soapbox. Coming from, my president of the Complementary Medical Association side of things, I believe that complementary medicine has to stand shoulder to shoulder with conventional medicine. We're not the poor cousin, we're not Johnny come lately. The lifestyle interventions that we offer are fully capable of addressing the pandemic, the real pandemic of obesity, of type 2 diabetes, of heart disease, of high blood pressure, all these lifestyle ailments that we all know that we contribute to actually turning around. So this is why I think, and I know I'm getting very passionate here, but it's because I feel so strongly about it. We are offering solutions to these things, are we not? So that's why I want you out there charging professional rates. I hope that helps. End of lecture there. Right, okay, questions. We've got questions in the box. Does that help? Faustina, is that thumbs up? Yeah?
Thumbs up, yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's get on and look at some more questions. Right, okay, lovelies. We've got loads. Right, okay. Do I find that pricing varies in different parts of the country? Yes. But to go back to Jim Fox's model, Jim being a sound healer, which is not the most normal discipline, is it? I'm sure you would agree. Jim is in the wilds of Wales. He lives in an area that is so far remotely removed. Here's a destination. People travel from all over the country to go and see Jim Fox, aka Gandalf. And Jim, one of the things that Jim did was he attended my public speaking to build your practice training, again, a live event. And so he went out and he was giving talks, because this is what we have to do to build our practices post-lockdown, or do them online now. Get out there, communicate, tell people what you do, communicate. But, so yeah, geographics is not actually that much of a big deal. I have people flying in to see me. I have an international practice. I spend a lot of time in the States. I have patients over there. Geographics, the world is a small place now. So actually, yes, you may live in an area that is very, very poor. I live in Hastings, which is a very, very poor borough. This little corner, the southeast corner of the UK, is very, very financially challenged. It's got some real impoverished, deeply challenged, impoverished areas, but it doesn't affect my practice because I have established the value of what I do. Okay, it's all about that. And as I say, because I charge a decent rate, I actually then find it gives me the space to be able to go and do my charitable work. Really important. We need to give back. Right, okay, so how do I feel about price structures, one for retired, one for students, etc.? Or do I feel it should be one price for all depending on the service or product? That's a really interesting question, because what the underlying question is, or what the underlying statement is, that I'm trying to appeal to all people all the time. So you've got to be aware of that. This goes back to understanding who your ideal client is. Go back to that lecture on avatar, the ideal client, your dream client. The truth of the matter is that you look at who you are working with. The top 20% best performing, most loyal, most lucrative, most dedicated clients or patients will bring in 80% of your business. Do the maths, please, on this, because this is crucial. Go back to, it wasn't last week, it was the week before. Go back to that lecture. Get that into your head, because to me, by asking that question, you're taking a bit of a scattergun approach. I don't want you to do that. I want you to be absolutely clear about who your target market is. Appeal to that market and set your prices for that particular demographic, that ideal person. If you then find that you're also, as a result, seeing their friends and family and so on, keep your prices just the same, because, you know, we're saying retired people. We know retired people aren't all desperately poor. They really aren't. And students, you know, students may well have, they may well have funds, or they may well have people who can support them in seeing you. So what I'm saying is, do not devalue your services. Don't feel obliged to doing it. If you feel, because you have a specific, unique niche where you are, let's say, you are treating people who are quite well off, and you know they are, because that's the avatar that you've developed, and you've understood your niche and clarified it absolutely specifically, create your website for that, and then go away and create another part of your website which actually deals with retired people and students. It's the analogy that I spoke about previously in branding, which is you go to the Audi website, the generic website for Audi, and then if you are the person who is interested in buying a sexy Audi R8, you'll click on Audi R8 and you'll be taken to a completely different looking website, to the Audi People Mover, for example, the family car. That will take you to a completely differently designed website. So what I'm saying is, through the magic of internet technology, we can, on the same website, appeal to different niches. And so we can do that, and we can have different rates. But what I'm saying is, don't feel obliged to discount just because somebody comes into a particular category. Don't assume. In homeopathy, we talk about the unprejudiced observer, aphorism 6. What I really want you to do is not make assumptions about people, but to create your message specifically. And if you can do that, you'll find you're attracting the right kinds of patients. Right, okay. Marie says, what if you realize your prices may be too high? How do you go about adjusting them down without it looking as though you were overcharging? That's a really good question. I've never come across that before. I think I would need to ask you to go back and ask yourself why you feel you might be overcharging. To me, I'm wondering whether you are clear about the value of the transformation you bring. What intel? I always go from an evidence-based, whether I'm speaking about complementary medicine and research, or whether I'm speaking about marketing. What I want you to do, Marie, and anybody else who feels that they may be overcharging, is I want you to ask yourself why. What data do you have that suggests that you're overcharging? If you say it's because, well, I simply just haven't got any clients, or people go, ooh, then it means that you're appealing to the wrong demographic. You've got to go back and rework your marketing message so that you're appealing to the correct demographic. And these will be people who don't muck you around, who appreciate your offering and don't play games. Okay, what I have found in the past is, when I started off, now believe me, I have tried every model. When I started off, crikey, 3 decades ago, you know, I tried everything. I thought, oh, I'm going to offer free sessions. Come and see me at my posh Harley Street, you know, practice. Because I was a kid with a crazy dream. I'd graduated, and coming out of 7 years of homeopathy training, I thought, whoopee-doo, I'm fabulous. Everybody's going to want to come and be treated by me. Not. So I put adverts in the papers. Of course, I was in London, so if you remember, in London they used to have those magazines, those free magazines that used to have, used to be given out at tube stations and whatnot. I would advertise in there, come and get your free taster session. People would book, they wouldn't turn up. And then I thought, okay, fine. So then it's £5 to book your taster session. You'll get it when you come or when you book your first session. Too cheap, too cheap. So I just went out, advertised myself as being at number 10 Harley Street, and then I built a practice. So, this is it. It's all about shaping your marketing, shaping your message, understanding the value of what you do. Go back to the other tutorials, because I think you may get your answers there, Marie. Okay, Tracy says Setmore is also excellent, and you can take payments via Square. Works out a bit cheaper than PayPal. Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, I'm not familiar with Setmore. I will check it out. It sounds really good. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tracy. That's brilliant. Barbara says, I find it hard to limit the times of appointments. This limits me. My clients love this time and sort of expect it now. Yikes. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, got the mouse mat. Yeah, down to you to sort that out, really. Maybe if you were using a Calendly appointment setting device there or program, then I would simply say, okay, well, I know that I probably go on for about an hour and a half, so I will set 2 hours for my appointment, which should give you a bit of a gap between clients. It's the kiss of death to your practice to overrun. I think it's just a case of just sitting down, looking at what you're doing, and putting your big girl knickers on, pulling them up, and say, right, this is what I'm going to do. This is my structure, and I'm setting to it. I'm actually sticking to it. My brain went for a second there. Easily done for a very, very little brain. Right, okay, so I hope that helps. Does that help, Barbara? I hope so. It is about, I do think that it's really important in practice to have boundaries, and actually seeing people to time is a really important boundary. Right, okay. Khalid says, is it better to charge per session or do bulk charging, i.e. 5 sessions, 10 sessions? Also, is it a good idea to charge patients on private medical insurance? Right, okay, if your discipline is recognised by the private medical insurers, yeah, brilliant, do it. I think it's a great thing. The private medical insurers do cover some disciplines and not others, so it's just one of those things. If you're lucky enough, then go for it. As far as actually charging for sessions, it can be a really good idea, and I've seen it work brilliantly for people. What you tend to find is you get good buy-in from the patient, and what I do, one of the models I have found works really well, particularly for my overseas clients, is I will actually set a set fee for 2 hours, so a slot of 2 hours. So I will do the initial consultation, and then they can come back to see me for and have half an hour or a quarter of an hour, just for questions or follow-ups and so on. And then when that time has expired, they will then pay another chunk. And so it's like tranche charging, and it works really, really well. And the reason I like to do that as a practitioner is because I find that I get continuity with my patients. I found as a homeopath and within my lifestyle medicine type practice, that if you just have one-off visits, or obviously virtually at the moment, then what happens is that it's difficult to actually get the buy-in and so on. And what we need as practitioners is, we spend all this time analysing cases and working out a protocol and so on and so forth, only to find that the patient ends up disappearing into the ether and ghosting you. So I find I get more buy-in by setting my practice up that way. It works really well. So I would suggest that it's worth looking at as a model. Thank you. That's a great question, Chloe. Thank you so much. Okay, there's a private question there asking what I charge. I'll come back to you on that, Teresa. Right, okay, wonderful information. Thank you very much, Marilyn. Okay, Sonia, how do we find the ideal client if we don't have a lot of clients? go back to last week and the week before and the week before. Okay, so I think we're now into the 5th or 6th week with these sessions. They are really, really good. Even if I do say so myself, I think other people, if you can give me a thumbs up, I think people have been finding them really useful. They're very practical and they give you a lot of sessions. Cheers, thank you, darling. They've given us a lot of sessions, a lot of practical information. All of the answers are in the sessions, so please go back. As I say, they're all on the CMA YouTube channel, Complementary Medical Association. Put the whole name in. Spell complementary correctly with E's, not an I. Otherwise, you get a smack bottom because that's my really big bugbear. People spelling complementary medicine wrong. So that's how you do it, my love. That's exactly it. You know, focusing on your ideal client is all about understanding your avatar, doing that work. I've got a worksheet for you. Do it. Okay, so thank you. It's clear, understandable, helpful, and enjoyable. Thank you, Faustine. I really appreciate that comment. Jill, thank you. Lovely to see you here, Jill. Thank you so much. Great. Oh, and thank you, Roberta. Thank you so much, Jill. Always good to see you. Anne says, very thought-provoking, very helpful. Thank you. Barbara says, thank you, Janie. Right. Mary Beth says, if you can book the first session without chatting with you, how do you screen them before the first session? I'm going cross-eyed. Screen for their ailments, screen out people who seem to exhibit personality disorders. Brilliant question. I always have a telephone discussion first. I don't do the online off-the-cuff booking thing. That doesn't work for me. I always talk to people first. I'll book a 15-minute session because I will also ask for any diagnostic reports, blood test results, because don't forget, I do work homeopathically, but I also work from a lifestyle, mind-body medicine perspective. So I need to see bloods, I need to see any test reports, any diagnostics and so on. So I get all of that sent over. I then make a decision as to whether I'm going to be able to work with that client, or alternatively, do I need to refer that person to a trusted colleague? So that's the way I do it. Okay. All right, Tracy, thank you so much for coming. You're an angel. I so appreciate it. Right, just so I always leave plenty of time between clients, always ready and on time for the next client. Yes. And always maintain my professionalism. Thank you, Jenny. I have to be sorted and think lockdown will give me an opportunity to start again as I mean to go on. Fantastic. Yes, absolutely. We've got to use this time to kind of reappraise what we do. I know it's ghastly, I know it's horrendous, and I know so many of us struggling. I'm not making light of COVID-19 at all, it's horrendous. But it has given many of us the opportunity to almost step back and reappraise things. So I do, please do that if you have a chance, but without getting overwhelmed, because I think the problem is many of us also feel that we should be learning Mandarin and learning how, and doing all of the English National Ballet online classes at 11 a.m. with Tamara Rojo, and doing creative things and baking and doing all of these things that we're supposed to be doing, getting completely overwhelmed by needing to be lockdown gods and goddesses. Don't get overwhelmed. Just keep very focused. And if you can work on your practice right now, please grab this element of COVID as a godsend. Right, okay. Oh, thank you, Bianca, darling. Thank you so much for coming. So appreciate you being here. As always, you're an angel. Right, okay, fabulous. Any other questions, or are we good to go now? I don't want to keep you for ages and ages. I think we're probably pretty much there. Teresa, hang fire, I will come back to you. Or actually, no, I'll tell you what, when I end the recording, it will shut the chat down. So if you want to email me, I will email you back and let you know all the details. Okay, loves. Thank you so much. And I just can't believe how great these sessions are. Love to everybody. Stay safe and well. Take care. Bye. Bye, guys.